Hey, welcome to the Pancreatic Cancer channel. It's been a while. You're gonna have to pardon me because my allergies are killing me. It's been a change in the weather and all kinds of crazy stuff, but a lot of changes with me. It's November 19th. I passed a year with pancreatic cancer. It has not been without its challenges, for sure. October 15th is when I was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And so here we are, November 2nd, November 3rd. And here I am. And, there's been some things that have happened. Aside from the pain that I used to have, this new thing developed in my shoulder where I had some lesions in my scapula that they ended up radiating. And I have lost movement, a lot of movement in my arm. So it's kind of becoming atrophied, and I can't do a push-up or anything like that. No kind of weight on this arm. This right here just feels like these swords are stuck in here, and they're just like grinding away. And then in my back, and just this past week, I was blessed with having a new pain that showed up on my other shoulder and my back, in my shoulder blade, my lower shoulder blade. And what really kind of bums me out is that, of course, I'm having more pain than usual. And this pain is worse than the pain that I typically have in my abdomen and my back from my regular cancer, which I had been able to control with, pain medication. This pain, it's like I take all these medications and I find just small moments of relief. And it really is something that you're going to have to work with a symptom management group or a pain management doctor. And I do that, but I have to tell you that it's like when your pain is changing, going up and down, and these different factors come into play, you're trying to kind of just get by with what you need, right? Instead of just piling it in. And at the same time, though, you can't, sometimes the pain is so excruciating. And I had been on this chemotherapy that I went off for about a month because to get the radiation, they had to take me off of it, do the radiation. And I got some relief in this arm. Some things came back, some things were better. But when I went back to that radiation, I used to do that radiation every 2 weeks. And I would do it, and it would take me like 3 days to kind of bounce back. 3 days I'd be like really low energy and tired and maybe a lot of nausea and things like that. And then I'd get like feeling like, hey, I'm strong, and I could finish out the week and get things done and live life, and that was cool. But then when I went back on the same radiation treatment, chemotherapy treatment, this last time I was having like, the first time was like 5 days, and then it was like 6 days, and then 7 days. And then I went up 1 week, I went up to 9 days where I was like in bed, just laying in bed, massive pain, which brings you down mentally. And you're wiped out, man. You're just like, you're thinking, I just want to stay here because the pain goes up. And I was taking my pain meds, and I have friends that call me and say, hey, did you take your 8 a.m. pain med? And, doing all these reminders, and they're helping, but it was just like, it wasn't enough because I was going into these extremes, and I would wake up and just so much pain that I was catching up, with my pain medication. And then with the arm pain, it was so much higher than this other pain that I would lay down flat, and it was just like somebody was grinding something in my shoulder. It was just like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like I couldn't sleep, and I couldn't get enough pain medication in me to stop it. And I remember talking with my doctors, and I thought that it was connected because I was also having this neck pain. I thought it was connected to some herniated disc I have, which is like, my fault, right? Like I lived a hard life, and I rode racing motorcycles, and I did martial arts and all this stuff that was abusive to my body, and I busted up my back. And so now it's like, oh, is that from the herniated disc? Is that from the cancer? What's going on? And so this chemotherapy treatments kept getting worse and worse. And, recently, just literally like 4 days ago, I went to the doctor, and I've been in this trial, and it was a immunotherapy trial. When I spun the wheel, I landed in the chemotherapy group. Like 60% of people got immunotherapy and 40% of people got the chemotherapy. And I landed in that 40% group. And when it happened at the time, I was like, oh, I'm not going to get the magic stuff that this trial is about. But they gave me good chemotherapy, and there were some results. It was shrinking. We were all kind of happy. It's like, wow, this is good. It's working. And now we're at the tail end of that, and it stopped working. And in the meantime, I've known people that got immunotherapy, and they did great. They had like miraculous recoveries. And then all of a sudden it go, and they were back to like worse than they were before. So I was kind of thinking, well, maybe I lucked out being in the chemotherapy group, So anyway, my next choice is like, hey, like this isn't working anymore. There's no reason to be doing it because I'm down for 9 days recuperating from it. Horrible situation. I mean, literally, I just got to the point where I admittedly, I was in tears. When I wasn't in pain, I was in tears thinking about having to go back to the hospital. And when I go to that hospital, I swear I would walk in and I could taste the saline solution in my mouth and in my throat. And it was just like, just getting it, like going through that whole day was just like, you go in and they access your port, and then they take blood from you, and then they swish it with saline, and you're getting that taste in your mouth, and then you wait an hour, and then you go see your oncologist, and your oncologist goes over the notes with you, and they're like, okay, it looks like you're good to go for more chemotherapy. And then you go, okay, and you go in that chemotherapy thing, and you sit in that chair, and they plug you in, and they're all very nice and everything. They try to make you comfortable and stuff, but you just sit there. And for me, it was taking my soul away. It was pumping me full of this medication, but it was taking my soul away because I thought, oh, now I got to live through this. And I would be so happy when I got home from that day, because it was like that day I knew, like, I don't have to go back for 2 more weeks. And it's just like, so now I went to the doctor and I said, look, it's not working anymore. I have a great oncologist, and he said, hey, there's some other stuff that I can do for you. But while you're in the trial, we have to stick to these things. The other choice is you go into the immunotherapy group. So now I'm available to go in the immunotherapy group. But then they explained the immunotherapy process to me, and it was like, no way. Like there was like, for the one that I was doing, this is not, I mean, everybody's different, but the one that I was doing, it was going to be like starting off with like 5 days a week in the hospital. And then it was like, after a month, you get to go like 4 days a week. And I can barely do a day in the hospital. I can barely do an hour there now because I hate it so much. And I hate to say that because all the people are so beautiful, but the process and the feeling is just, it's soured my soul. And what I've been operating on in the last year is like, I think about cancer when I go to the hospital, when I see the doctor, and when I have pain. But even then, when I have pain, I've just accepted that I have pain and it's part of my life. And I don't think too much about the cancer and what it's doing to me. I just think like, oh, can I take enough pain medication to like forget about it? So in a way, my approach has been total denial. I recommend that actually, because it allows you to pursue other things. And so I paint, that I have this great studio and I have this other things. And I've been doing those things and they take it away. Now, in this last month and a half that I've been back doing the chemotherapy, I hadn't been painting much because I just come home and I was so wiped out, and all I wanted to do was go to my bed and just lay down. Just lay down and try to rest, to be able to wake up refreshed. That's really what I wanted. I just wanted to wake up refreshed, and I couldn't. It wasn't there. I was not waking up refreshed, you know. So I quit this trial. So now, always drink a lot of water. Pellegrino is great water. It's not supporting me or my channel, but they're good anyway. So this is the first week that I'm like out of the trial. I don't have to go to the doctor. I just got to get my pain medications. And I want to talk about pain meds because where I'm at, the state of California, they have all these rules, man. All these rules, and you can only get a 1 month supply, and you can only get it on this a week before you run out. And you know, my insurance company makes it really difficult for everybody involved. So who's involved? Me, the patient, the insurance company, who's like this middleman, satanic service, and then the doctor who prescribes the medication, and the pharmacy. And everybody wants me to get the drugs except for the insurance company. So my insurance is like, we will give you the generic medications, but we will not give you brand because the generic is cheaper, and bottom line is most important. For those of you out there in that fence of like Medicare for all or Medicare for all is what we need. We need to give everybody the human right of, health, being able to have medical, see a doctor and go to a hospital. We need that. That should be a human right. Everybody has that right. Otherwise, you're kicked to a dog on the ground. And you know what? Insurance companies treat you like a dog anyway. Again, for me, every month I have terminal cancer. I am going to fucking die. But every month when that prescription goes through and it says, hi, it's like, bing, denied. And then what happens is it's got to go bounce back from the insurance company to the pharmacy. And then the pharmacy says, oh, it's denied. And then it goes back to the doctor, and the doctor bounces it back to the pharmacy, and the pharmacy bounces it back to the insurance company, and the insurance company bounces it back to the pharmacy. And then I'm sitting there like, when is it coming? When is it available? And to say that you're not frustrated is like just fucking lying, because you are frustrated. And at some point when you're a patient and you're hurting and you're like, I'm going to run out of meds, pain meds in a couple of days, and I still don't have my medication. I literally have run out of pain meds and like been like on the phone and like driving to the pharmacy on that day just to pick them up as soon as they were ready, because it was like, oh, I'm going to be out in the morning, and then by 4 o'clock I need to take another dose. And if I don't get, to my pharmacy to pick it up, I'm screwed. And the whole idea of, they have these services where they'll ship it to your house or whatever. I can't do that, because with that situation set up, once they approve it, then it just takes time for them to get it to me. So I need to be in a situation where I can just go, or I can send somebody to go pick it up for me, bring it right to me so I can take it. I have been in situations where I had a little bit of this med left over and that med left over, and I was like taking those, or my doctor was like, well, you're going to be out of that, but so take extra of this other one, the breakthrough medication, which is the short acting. And it's like, okay. And I take those and I'm like, shit, I'm going to be out of this short acting before, because I took extras out of here. So now I'm going to run out this coming month of that one before the refill comes through. So it's this horrible thing. And as a patient, you get, you're hurting. I mean, it's like I'm hurting, and I go in there sometimes and I'm in a lot of pain, and I try to hide it. I believe that every morning we should wake up, we should throw water on our face, we should put on our best clothes, We should look great. We should think great, be cool, do your stuff. But you know what? You do that even if you feel like shit inside, and people will see you and they're like, you look great. You're like, I'm should be in a hospital bed, but it's like, wonderful. I look great. That's the face I want to put onto the world. But when you go to that, when you're in the middle of that situation, it's soul crushing. It's like, it's ripping your heart out. And it's like these insurance companies are just pissing all over you because you are not worth anything. To them, you are a number, and you're in the way of them increasing their profits and their bottom line. That's it. And that's the truth, man. That's the honest to God's truth. And you know what? The people who say, I can afford insurance and I don't know about paying for somebody else's, no matter how good your insurance is, these laws will apply to you. And you will feel that sting. You will. And when you feel it, it's going to be, the first part of it's going to be a little bit of pride hurting you. You're going to be like, why did that happen to me? And then it's like, it just gets worse from there. So don't think that your insurance is better than mine or something like that. They're all out for the same thing. And when it comes to these pain medications, it's degrading, it's humiliating, and it's this charade of bullshit for profit. So the one thing you got to do is you got to work it, right? You got to be nice to the pharmacist. You got to be nice to the doctor. Even when you feel terrible, you got to do those things because you need that medication. That's the bottom line. Otherwise, you'll be like me and you'll have these days. And some days, look, already I'm in a bad scene because sometimes I wake up and I'm in so much pain. I have a friend that calls me at 8 a.m. every morning. He's like, dude, take your pain medications. And I've slept through those things, and it's like, oh my God, I can barely move. And I just feel like somebody drove a truck up onto my body. And it's just like, I can't move here at all. It's like, I'm in so much pain. And every ounce of me, every ounce of energy, every ounce of my soul, every ounce of everything that I am is taken up and standing up and walking to that counter and taking my pain pills. Literally, that's what's done. So now recently, I had a family member that was helping me out. And, your family, they love you. They care for you. Your friends love you and care for you. And they hate to see you suffer. And sometimes they want to help. Sometimes they help in the wrong way, if that's possible. And I do want to say this, I recently was in a situation where after I got that chemo, I had that like 7 days out. But what happened is I started to dehydrate as well. And it got so bad that I was dehydrated. I was nauseated. So I was going diarrhea. I was wanting to vomit. I could barely take any water in. I lost 8 pounds in 3 days. And I lost more weight than that actually over the 7-day period. But I was able to track 8 pounds in 3 days. And I felt so miserable. My pants were falling off and everything. And I got to the point where I was like, oh shit, I'm going to have to go to the hospital. And I didn't have any family in town. And I don't have them. They come and visit me, and help me out with a lot of stuff. But it was a Saturday night, and I started calling people, and I called this one friend of mine first, and his phone was like out. It was like, it went straight to voicemail, and it's like, this mailbox is full. Bing. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And so I sent him a text, and I sent him another text. And then I called a friend of ours who lives downstairs from him and said, hey, have you seen so-and-so around? He's like, no, I'm out, blah, 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 partying wherever. I haven't seen him, And I'm like, okay. And then I called another friend who was actually his roommate and said, hey, have you seen him? He's like, no, I'm out somewhere. Is he okay? He was kind of sending me messages like, is he all right? Or should I go check on him? And I'm thinking like, no, I'm fucking dying in bed. And I need somebody to take me to the hospital. Saturday night again, right? People are out doing stuff. And then I'd called one friend of mine first, and I called her She's a good friend. She doesn't drive, but she is a rock. And I can trust her with anything. And I called her and she didn't answer. So I sent her a text message and I left her a voicemail. So then I started calling some other people and everybody was out and they weren't home. And I got down and I started thinking, okay, go to the wider list. And I was sitting there and I was like, I can barely think of who to call. I can barely stand up. I'm dehydrating, going to the bathroom every 10 minutes. And I need to get some fluids in me and I can't get enough water or anything. And I realized that at that moment, I was like alone, like alone. You know, when you don't have a wife or a child that lives with you or a relative that lives with you or, you know, that kind of relationship, and you live alone and you're not married, you know, you really rely on your friends. You really do. And, you know, we have tons of friends in our lives and they say, oh, I would do anything for you, Garrett Ball, da, 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 you're my best friend. And but let me tell you, when it really comes down to it, when you got a terminal illness, that's when you discover who your friends really are. Because they're people, you can identify them. Number one, you can get a hold of them. Number two, when they do things for you, they do it with compassion, right? They don't give you a ride to the hospital or to the doctor in a shitty mood, right? Or like, you know, when you're telling them, hey, you got to turn here. I know where I got to turn. Don't tell me, blah, 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 you know. Oh, okay. And then you don't say anything. And they're like, why didn't you tell me I had to turn there? Blah, blah, blah. And, you know, or they insist on certain things, you know, it's like insist on helping you their way, right? And when you're terminally ill, you're pretty weak, man. It's like it's hard to put up a fight. And you can't put up a fight anyway because you're at their mercy. You need help. And I sat there at that moment and I kind of rolled over and I just realized that at that moment, I was alone, man. I was like alone. That was it. Like, it's like I could hear everything in the world. And what I heard was like loneliness crickets, you know, the crickets that tell you it's like you are in like a barren wasteland and you are alone. And let me tell you, that was a hard awakening. That was like a rude awakening, but it was really hard to like come to terms with that. And fortunately for me, the first person I called, the phone rang, and I was sitting there thinking like, oh God, I gotta call the ambulance. And then it's like, okay, you know, put your pants on. And, you know, I was so messed up. I'm sorry to say this. I was so messed up. I hadn't bathed in those because I was laying in bed for days. I hadn't bathed in 7 days, man. Let me tell you, taking pain medications, sweating in your sleep and all that. It's like, ooh, I was ripe. I smelled terrible. And I was sitting there and the phone rang and the little marquee name came up and it was my friend, the first person I called, my friend who's a rock, who she's been my friend for 20 years now, maybe 21. And I said, hey, I feel really bad. I feel really, really bad. I can't take care of myself. I need you to come be by my side. And she said, I'll be right over. And she hung up the phone. She came right over. She came over and she hugged me. And later on, I told her, I was telling her what I was feeling. And I'm like, you know, I'm sorry. I haven't bathed in 7 days. And she looked at me and she says, I know. I'm like, do I smell bad? She's like, yeah, you got BO big time. So she was aware of the shitty shape I was in, but she started helping me. What do you need? Getting me water, popsicles, trying to get fluids into me. She had a plan. We were going to take Uber to the hospital. There are close hospitals to me. There's one that's literally like 5 minutes away, and then there's another one that I prefer over that one. That's 25 minutes, 19 minutes away, which is a great one. And then there's the one that all my doctors are part of, and that I know if I go there, I'll get every single thing that I need, like immediately. That's 38 minutes away because it was Saturday night. I looked at the Google traffic thing. It's like, oh yeah, 30 minutes. But she was going to hold my hand. She was going to call an Uber or a Lyft, and we were going to get in the car together, and we were going to go out there. And all of a sudden, just having her there with me, I could do two things. Number one, she helped me kind of organize my thoughts on what I should do. The first thing was call a doctor. And so we did that. And, a nurse line thing that we have through our insurance, through the hospital that I go to. And then the second thing was, what do we need to start rehydrating you? So she's giving me water and all this stuff. And she kind of cleaned around my apartment, and she's like, take a shower, go take a shower. And it's like, yeah, you're right. I hadn't shaved or anything. So I went and shaved. I took a shower, all these things. It's like, just getting fluids in me. I was eating popsicles. And what I had the assurance of two things. Number one, that she was going to be able to take me to the hospital I needed to go. And that I knew that even if I passed out or whatever happened, she'd be able to get me there. And number two, that I could rest. So before, when I was alone, I was really afraid of falling asleep because I was in so much pain and I was so sick, wanting to vomit and all these things. And I kept sitting up, because I was like, I had to sit up in my bed, because I realized if I fell asleep, I might not have the energy to get out of bed at all. And that's why I needed her. So when she came, all of a sudden, she lifted my arms up and she took this burden off of me that gave me the ability to relax. And so we got fluids in me, and I was able to take a little nap, and just kind of that I knew that she was coming in and checking on me, and I could get some rest. And we talked to the doctor, and fortunately, the doctor's like, we're on the fence. You can go to the hospital, or we can wait a little while longer and see how things progress. And so I waited a while longer, and I started to feel okay. And then so we thought, okay, we'll go in the morning. And that's what we did. We worked things out for later. It was good. But it's important, that friends and the network and finding out, how to care for yourself that way. The other thing I was going to say, and I was talking about how family members want to help take care of us and stuff. So they're not always around, but sometimes they are around. And when they are around, they, they care about you, and they want to make sure you're getting good care. And so sometimes they want to have those conversations with the doctors that you've built these relationships with. And, it's really important to have a good relationship with your doctor. And they're not perfect. They're not gods. As much as we want them to be, they're just not. And sometimes your family members can kind of go in there and start demanding stuff of them. And a long time ago when this all started, I spoke to my family members and I was like, look, I want to handle the relationships with my doctors. I don't want you doing that. I don't want you to make decisions for me. I don't want you, I want to do that. When I ask you for advice, just tell me what your advice is. But I don't want you to go and start speaking on my behalf. And so I had this thing that happened with my medications and stuff. And my family member, after I relayed all this information, my family member was upset that I was, she felt like I was being treated poorly. And she was upset that I was upset. And she went and made a complaint. And I was at home. And the irony is that this issue I had already, after she left, I wrote a note to my doctor explaining what was going on, and trying to keep it cordial, right? Trying to keep that relationship strong. But she went and did this thing where she was making a complaint, and she did all these things, and it kind of fucked it up a bit. Because then I got a call from the pharmacy guy, who's a guy that I see every month and who gets me my meds. And it's really important that I got a good relationship with him. And she said some things that really tore this dude up, And again, I had already talked to the doctor and kind of squared away things. And, being an artist, I was the last time I was in the hospital, they always ask you, what's your pain level? And da-da-da. So I was in the waiting room and I drew a picture, and I draw these pictures when I am having pain, because all the times you go to the doctor and they're like, what pain level are you at? Are you having pain? And you're like, yes, I'm at a 7. And they're like, so what is it like? And they want you to describe it. And I'm pretty good at describing pain, but it's kind of it feels like a chainsaw's in my arm, and then the people are stabbing swords here, and there's tendons being pulled out of my neck by a crow. And anyway, so when I wrote this note to the doctor about what was going on, I took a picture of one of my pain drawings and I sent it to her to add some levity, just to add a little ha-ha to it, And the funny thing is I guess she got the complaint before she got my message. So her response was very curt and very bland. And I thought wow, I sent her this cool drawing. I'm going to show you this drawing. It's how I was feeling just when before I picked up my pain meds. And let's see if I can do this here for you. Look, that's the drawing. Yeah. Pretty wacky. That's what it feels like. That's what my pain feels like. I got tired of writing the 1 and the 10. And anyway, so I do these. Here's another one. These are all done at different times, different kinds of pain, different states of pain. But it's all due to pancreatic cancer, just a FYI, so you know. If you have a loved one who's going through it, here's a good one. This is the waterfall of tears. I do a lot of crying because pain fucking hurts. It really does. It's painful in so many ways. Pain, pain, pain. Let's see. Oh, here's another one that's kind of like that. This is chemotherapy. I don't know how much I like that one, but you know, again, these things, they're just ruled by emotions and feelings. Oh, here's another one, pain. I did this in the morning when I woke up, just like I was feeling when I woke up. Yeah, kind of crazy. Let's see, I think I got 2 more in here. I was thinking that, you know, I have some of these other ones drawn in other books. You know, I do these notebooks for ideas and stuff. This has all kinds of drawings and stuff, but, you know, I started adding in the pain, but I had done, you know, I did not just art stuff in here, but it's like ideas and you know, all artists are nutcases, so we don't know what's going on. Let's see if I can find these other ones. I want to share them all with you. I thought maybe I should just do a book of all these pain sketchings, you know, because they're kind of like that. Like, just do a book of it, you know, because maybe it'll help somebody. I'd love to do a book like 1 through 10 of pain, so that you can have it sitting there and say, oh, this is what it's like. This is one that I did this morning, and you know, I have this the shoulder pain and then this neck pain that's come in. It's killing me. And the other thing I developed is when I breathe deep, I get this pain here and in my back, just below my right arm. And so I'm hoping that my right arm is going to stay strong, you know, but Jesus Christ, don't make it both arms go out. So this one describes this. This one I think is pretty on the button. It's got the neck pain and the shoulder pain and back pain. It's difficult. It's difficult, my friends, but you know, the other thing I make these drawings is that I hope in some way I'm exorcising it out of my pain out of my body. And this, you know, the whole thing. I think that might be it. Let's see, is there one more? That one's done. That one's done. Yeah, I think that's it. You guys got the whole thing. There must have been one more in here. I know there was. I know there was one more. Nope. That's it, kids. Anyway, I think I covered those things. The meds, the pain, the loneliness, the cartoons of pain, getting your medications from your doctors. That's a biggie, big time. So now we'll see where this takes me now, you know. I might be moving out of here because I feel like if I start losing any kind of mobility, that'll be crushing. Somehow I really hoped that however long I would have cancer, that I would just have it and that my demise would happen inside of a week or two, you know. I kind of prayed for that, right? But up until that point, I would love to have my mobility and my ability to still live on my own. That's my dream, so that I can just sit here and paint and finish things. And then when I'm ready, go lay down and take something for the pain. Just ride on. Ride on. That's my best hope. In the meantime, I'm making art, trying to finish some unfinished business with some pieces and some paintings. Yeah, that's it for today's Pancreatic Cancer channel. Thanks for hanging out.